Despite the massive surge in social media usage, B2B marketers are being presented with a new challenge of generating content that resonates with their audience in a world where no workday is the same from day to day. Today, Monday, April the 20th, 2020, we're joined by Howard Sewell, President of Spear Marketing Group. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the discussion. I'm Colin Day, the Managing Director of EMEA at Oktopost. And this podcast series brought to you by Oktopost around the globalization of social media. I am very, very proud to have with me on today's session Howard Sewell, a good friend of mine and a good friend of Oktopost and a good friend of B2B marketers everywhere, I think. Howard, the president of Spear Marketing Group. Spear is a full-service demand generation agency that's helping B2B companies generate, nurture, and convert leads to revenue. Howard, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Colin. Welcome to my living room.
Your living room is fantastic.
And the work from home era. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Howard, tell me a little bit about Spear Marketing Groups. Like, you guys were founded in 2009, I believe. Who are your customers and what do you do?
Yeah, we were founded after the last big economic downturn 10 years ago. So we're about 10 years old. We're about 50 people and change. And as you just described, we're a full service agency, but we're very specialized in B2B demand generation, and most of our clients, about 90+%, are tech companies. So B2B tech is kind of where we live. A lot of SaaS, online companies, etc. But yeah,
and I'm not going to mention any of those, Howard, because everyone can go to your website and have a look, which is spearmarketing.com, is it?
That is correct. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And on there, I mean, you've got a whole raft of very enviable logos on the bottom of that screen. So congratulations.
We've been very fortunate. Thank you.
Excellent. So, Howard, I've got a conversation for you. I've got a question for you, hopefully that will spawn a conversation. But I've got a question for you. Remote working is likely to become the new norm. I mean, we're all looking into your wonderful living room at the moment, right? And that's your office for the foreseeable future. What implications do you see having on integrated marketing strategies and campaigns in this new era, in this new norm?
Yeah, it's been a big, I want to say I guess it's not, I was about to say it's a big change, but in a lot of ways, it's just a continuation of a trend, I think. Stating the obvious, things have moved in a very digital direction. Not that they weren't already, but again, events or live events or sort of field events are off the calendar. Direct mail is a no-go for most clients right now, which is ironic because, and I count myself as someone who cut their teeth on direct mail back in the day, early in my marketing career. We've probably done more direct mail in the last year than we have in the last, 4? And much of that has to do with ABM and target account marketing. But now, in so much as we don't know if people are at their desk, they're likely not. And if they're not, we don't know where they are. I've seen vendors in the marketplace talk about almost sort of an opt-in approach to direct mail where people are invited to sort of confirm their mailing address. But it seems like a bridge too far for me. So for the most part, in so much as we're talking to clients about integrated strategies, direct mail, I think, is on hiatus, shall we say, for a little while. The other transition for us has been we're advising clients to look at their inbound strategy. So inbound as opposed to sort of more, proactive outreach. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do outreach, but I think there's a lot of people out there looking for answers and solutions and strategies to help them get through, the current struggles. So inbound channels like paid social and search and content syndication, that's something where I think if you're going to make an investment in marketing, people don't want to be sold to right now, but I think there are people out there looking for answers. So to the extent that you have a good online presence and you're always on, you have a better chance of engaging with those people, and they might be in the minority, but those people that are out there looking for, information of value. So that's some of the advice that we're giving people anyway.
And Howard, I mean, that advice comes from years of knowledge, not just from your team, but certainly from you. Can I just read you something from your LinkedIn profile? And you're probably thinking, oh dear. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So this is off of your LinkedIn profile as I was looking and doing some research for the show, right? I was fortunate enough to find my professional calling early in my career, right? To me, that smacks of passion and love and longevity. How long have you been in the B2B marketing space, my friend?
Oh, Colin. Longer than you, most likely. So
Howard, I'm not that much younger than you. I would say I'm probably older. Look, I've got more wrinkles, my friend.
Oh dear, oh dear. So I started my marketing career at a little company called Oracle back in the.
I've heard of them.
I'm going to date myself. Yep, in the late '80s. So I was part of this will sound crazy to the millennials, but I was part of an in-house direct mail agency. Can you imagine such a thing? And that's where I really kind of got exposed to, at the time, what we called direct marketing, which I thought was this phenomenal confluence of both art and science. It was very numbers oriented, but there was creativity about it. And of course, now that's evolved into what we generically call, demand gen or even integrated marketing. And I think it's a great, I still love what I do. I love coming to work, which nowadays is about, 10 feet, in the morning. And, but it's great fun, and it's always changing, right? And these last few weeks are no exception to that rule. There's always a challenge. It keeps you on your toes. So
Howard,
thank you for asking that, Colin. By the way,
that's all right. No problem. So you're 21 then, sir, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
There you go. So you can get me back later on, Howard. But if we take that and we take the first question, right, around the whole integrated marketing strategies and how they're changing, right? How are you seeing strategies being put in place today? I mean, after all, you talked about events and you talked about, or I'm going to put words into your mouth there, right? You talked about events, and with that, it's like I'm assuming you were alluding to the fact that A, they're not happening. You said that, but B, budgets are changing as well, right? In so much as the budget that was allocated to an event may already have been committed, right? You might not be able to get that spend back. You might be able to get some of it back. Yeah. The travel element of it, if dependent upon how far out the event is, the travel element of it might not have been committed yet, and that may have been frozen. What are you seeing from an event perspective, and what are you seeing from new ways and new strategies that people are looking to? You talked about inbound, but what are you seeing happening out there with regards to the way that the marketing mix is changing and maybe the budget allocation is changing? Because after all, companies just can't shut down to ride out the storm, can they?
No, that's correct. No, I don't believe so. And that's not to say that people aren't going to be somewhat lean and mean, right? Yeah. Over the next couple of months. I mean, caution is sort of the, a word of the day. We don't know where this is going, at least at the time you and I are recording this. I think at the risk of overgeneralization, I think one trend that we're seeing is what would have been event budgets being converted into content. I think this podcast is a good example of it. There was sort of a knee-jerk reaction, I think, to go all in on webinars initially, and you're seeing a lot of that in the space right now. And I think that's fine, but the caution, I think I wrote as much on LinkedIn recently, the caution I would give people is that, daily schedules are completely up in the air right now. Nothing is normal. No work day is as it was a month ago. So if you're expecting people to show up on Tuesday at 10 o'clock the way they might have a month ago for a live webinar, that expectation might be disappointed. And so, personally, I'm recommending to people that they look at, on-demand content like what you and I are doing here, and really allow people to sort of consume it at their leisure, right? Between homeschooling the kids and walking the dog and riding the bike and whatever else you might have going on during the day. So a lot of content being produced, which I think is smart, because content has a shelf life. I think people are really looking for information and value right now. Again, not to preach the same thing over and over, but I just generally don't think people are looking to be sold to. They're not looking for a pitch, but they're looking for answers. And I think there are ways to respond to that and create content that resonates with people, even at times like this.
Yeah, the interesting thing there, you mentioned working days and working weeks. Yeah, I found myself working over the weekend, like I think most of us do and have done. But there seems to be, I've lost all all concept of day and time. Right? It's like I look outside of my window and I can tell roughly what kind of time of day it is, but I don't know what day of the week it is. And I found myself talking to clients on Sunday afternoon. I'm sitting there, on the settee, Lisa and the children are watching telly, and I'm sitting there, having WhatsApp conversations with clients and prospects. So totally agree with you, right? Totally agree with you that the working week has changed.
And I think what that also says is that, again, it's if you're doing outbound marketing, if you're doing outreach, it's very difficult to know when and if you're going to be able to reach people at their quote unquote desk. At the best of times, outbound marketing, whether it's email, whether it's direct mail, whether it's sales outreach, is always, success with outbound is always what I call an accident of timing.
Yep.
Right. I mean, you and I can develop the best campaign that ever was, best message, best offer. But if you reach me on a day when I'm on vacation, or, it's just I'm not available to that message, then it's all for naught. And I think that especially applies in times like this, where you just don't know, you can't have an expectation that people are going to be at their desk 9 to 5, or that they're not going to be working 6-7 days a week. And that's where I think having at least some element of your strategy, sort of an always-on approach. So channels, again, like search and LinkedIn and content syndication is smart right now, because you've got people like Colin, who might on a Saturday afternoon be, searching for, solutions or answers or information or statistics or something from the comfort of we would say couch, Colin, but that's... Oh,
I apologize. Sorry, I forget the audience. It's about knowing your audience, Howard, right?
But, and the statistics, anecdotal at this point, say that online activity is up significantly. I mean, social channels, you read about Facebook and their traffic being up, I forget what the number is, 6x, LinkedIn the same. So I think marketers would be smart to be part of that, whether it's, investing in paid social, making sure that your search campaigns are optimized, encouraging your employees, and in our case, our clients, to be out there on social media, sharing their opinion. There's probably no better time to do that, because, the eyeballs are there. Again, that doesn't mean pitch your product, but share expertise, share helpful strategies, share what's working, that kind of thing. I think people want to be connected right now. I'm not saying anything that no one else has said, but right, it's that kind of environment. Yep. And so the channels that lend themselves to that kind of sharing, I think, are the ones that make sense right now.
So, Howard, just picking up on two things there, right? It's like you've mentioned a couple of times people don't want to be sold to in this climate. I don't think people necessarily want to be sold to ever, but
Right.
I guess that's a topic for another podcast, right? But you also mentioned employees, right? And in my world, where I come from, it's like I always used to say that a connected workforce, was sometimes more powerful than a brand, right? And no more
Right.
so in this climate, right? But in this business climate, how can we ensure that customers and prospective customers view the marketing touch points as useful rather than as spam?
Right. Right. I think I think it just comes down to the value of the information. If you're not providing value, you're kind of useless.
Right.
Right now, I think people do want answers. They want solutions. They just don't want to be. They just don't want to be pitched, per se. Can I also say, I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but I think people are overplaying the empathy card. I think we're officially at peak empathy right now.
There must be a graph for it somewhere, right? We've got a graph for everything else at the moment, Howard.
I think 2 weeks ago, acknowledging the pain and stress and what people were going through is fine. And I'm not saying, eliminate that completely, but I'm still getting emails from people that I have only the most in companies that I have even the most tangential relationship with that are expecting me to wade through, 2 to 3 paragraphs about how concerned they are and what they're doing. And I just,
You're
there's
lucky,
a
only
point
2
at
to
which
3 paragraphs. I'm getting 2 to 3 pages some days.
Exactly. So I think there comes a time where we need to sort of, cross the bell curve and start to turn that down, and frankly, just get back to business as usual, and not again that the circumstances around us are going to change radically for the better in the very short term at the time you and I are recording this, but ultimately people still have to run their business. They want to keep the lights on. As you said earlier, you can't just sort of shut down and wait this out, not if you're in the kind of business that you and I are. So
Yep.
Anyway,
so
care,
Howard,
but not too much.
So thinking about some additional points, right? It's like you've mentioned LinkedIn. I follow you on Twitter. You're quite social, right? So if we think about social selling, and I know you said people don't want to be sold to right now, but it's more of a philosophy than anything else in my mindset. Right. Social selling, anyway. You post a fair amount on Twitter. You also write your company blog. That's the blog that is called "What's the Point?" Right? Or is it called The Point?
The Point.
I made a note to myself. What's the point, right? So the point is your blog, right?
Maybe we'll change it to that. Yeah, there we go.
Perhaps I should go out and trademark it now. No, but so you write the company blog, The Point. What's your advice to people on how to be seen as a thought leader, how to be seen as an industry expert?
I'm going to use the same word again, but I think a lot of it's about value. A lot of what's on social media, a lot of content on social media is opinion, and that's fine. But I think, especially in times like this, I think people are really looking for more practical advice, things that they can really, really use. Here's what we've tried. Here's what we're doing with our team. Here's what's working. And I think a lot of business professionals had that advice in them, but a lot of that content sort of seems second nature to them, so they don't think to share it. We've actually been encouraging our employees. I'm just a big evangelist for personal brands in business, and I encourage our employees to get out there. It's more comfortable for some than others, but even if it's just a couple of lines on LinkedIn about way you helped a client today, or some little nuts and bolt trick that you used in a certain software, be it Oktopost or a Marketo or something like that. That's useful information. I'm also, I should say, I'm a huge evangelist for blogs. I think blogs are one of the most underutilized social channels out there. I mean, we're kind of in an era of short form content these days, right? Twitter and even LinkedIn to some extent. And I think corporate blogs in general, they often get just sort of, pushed aside, or they get relegated to, used as a PR vehicle, all due respect to, the PR people out there. But there's so much potential to use blogs as sort of the central linchpin platform for kind of a whole social media strategy. We literally get, at our agency, we get about 80% of our leads from the blog.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and there's a reason for that. One is the content. One is the way that we make sure to kind of link that content, back to our website. It's a big driver for our SEO. And if you go to any blog, any page on our blog, there's always related content surrounding that content. So if you wander across some random article on how to write a webinar invitation or something on our blog, even if it's 2-3 years ago, the sidebar will always be like a related white paper or a recorded webinar or subscribe to the blog. So we're always sort of driving engagement, not necessarily in the content itself, but as a consequence of people coming to that blog.
So next best read kind of touch, right?
Next best read, exactly right. And it's just, and again, I think a lot of blogs out there are much more, what would be the word, passive, I guess. And again, it's, I think, a wasted opportunity, you lost opportunity, wasted real estate not to take advantage of that, especially in times like this where people are, again, looking to be connected, looking to find information, looking to share expertise. So that's my blog speech.
Maybe learning management systems are the way forward as well, Howard, right? Maybe they're the ones that will come out very well out of this whole process. Absolutely. outside of the likes of Zoom and various others like video conferencing technologies that are in the marketplace.
Absolutely. One of our larger clients actually is an online learning platform, and I think they're doing quite well. Not, and I don't mean to say that in a way that implies they're taking advantage or profiting, but their brand awareness is through the roof right now, right? Given where people are.
So Howard, you've spent the last 30 plus years. So you told us up front, right? That's how long you've been. Sorry, just had to, it's like reiterate that fact, right? But you spent the last 30 plus years like in the industry of demand generation. So what tips would you have in these challenging times around the approach to generating that demand? I mean, we've talked about content. Yeah, we've talked about don't oversell or don't sell. It's like, what other tips would you put out there?
Yeah, I would be looking to, I'd be looking to invest in content, because no matter what, that's going to last you through this and have a return in the months and years ahead. I'd be looking at, potentially even doubling down on inbound channels like paid search, paid social, content syndication. Most of those channels are performance-based. They're either cost per click or cost per lead. So worst case scenario, no one's out there looking for the information that you're putting out. It's not going to cost you a lot. And again, just sort of be there when and if people are looking for information. Content is going to win the day right now. And I think if people take a content-driven approach and not try to force their way into conversations, I think those are the companies that are going to do well.
And then one of the key channels for getting that content out there is obviously social. I mean, you talked about paid, right? But just leveraging the employee, leveraging the company advocates, leveraging the company's own social channels, right? I know from a Twitter perspective yourself, if anyone wanted to find you, Hope you don't mind, but I'm going to put your Twitter handle out there. You have 3,143 followers when I looked at this. So let's see whether we can push that up for you, Mr. Howard.
All right.
So your Twitter handle, I believe, is at HJ Sewell. That's Sewell. So that's HJSEWELL. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, absolutely.
What other ways can people find you and socially? I mean, I was going to say socially stalk you, but I meant find you and follow you through your social channels. You've obviously got a LinkedIn account.
I do, and LinkedIn, I have to confess, is sort of my channel of preference right now. I'm probably more on LinkedIn than I am on Twitter, so you can follow me there, and I think that you can just search for me by name, obviously, but I think it's HJ Sewell. I think it's the same name. So people are welcome to reach out to me there.
Your 3,000 followers are going to be very disappointed to hear that one, Howard, and I'm one of them, so I'm shocked, my friend. I've got one last question for you. One last question that I've asked everyone that's come on to this podcast series so far, and everyone that will follow you. Is email dead?
Gosh, no, absolutely not. No, on the contrary, I think it's more valuable than ever. I mean, it has its limitations for outreach, for sort of cold outreach, but that's been the case for some time. I mean, email has long since made the transition from kind of a lead generation tool to more of a, I guess you call it sort of a lead nurturing tool. So most of our clients these days are using email more for lead nurturing, customer marketing, partner marketing, that kind of relationship building. But no, I think it has a role to play. And again, part of that is also the dynamic we were talking about people's working days being upside down. I'm a huge fan of real-time communication, be it messenger, chatbots, or what have you. But again, right now, I think people are looking to consume information on their own time at their own pace, and especially working from home. And so, as asynchronous communication, can we call it that? Email makes sense because I don't have to be there, responding to you here and now. I can sort of respond to it at my leisure. So no, count me in the email call. We do a ton of email. Were and are now. It's continuing to be a vital tool in the arsenal, I think. So definitely.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Howard. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Colin Day, Managing Director of EMEA at Oktopost, and thank you to my special guest today, Howard Sewell, President of Spear Marketing Group. Howard, always a pleasure to catch up with you, sir.
Likewise, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.